think the reality is, I've heard better people sing outside subway stations.
He judged the world for decades, but when life finally judged him, it was merciless. Simon Cowell, the man who ruled Saturday nights, who made stars with a word and destroyed dreams with a glance. The face of power, of arrogance, of ruthless truth. But behind that sharp tongue and perfect suit lived a boy who never once heard the words, "I'm proud of you." He wasn't born into the spotlight. He was born into silence. 1959, Lambeth, London. A young Simon grew up in a home that shimmered with glamour on the outside. A ballet dancer mother, a music executive father. But inside, there was distance. His father measured love in achievement. His mother drifted through rooms like a ghost of elegance. And the boy caught in between learned early that affection was earned, and he hadn't earned it yet. He'd later say, "My father never said he was proud of me, not once." That small wound became his entire fire. In school, Simon wasn't brilliant. He was bored, restless, overlooked, invisible in classrooms that celebrated everyone but him. He scraped by with 1 or 2 passes. No medals, no applause. Just the echo of failure ringing louder with every report card. So when his father pulled some strings to get him a job in the mailroom at EMI Records, it wasn't pride, it was pity. A silent message: you can't do better, so start here. Each morning, he carried coffee to producers who didn't know his name. He sorted fan mail for singers who lived the life he could only dream of. And when no one was watching, he cried quietly in the bathroom. A grown man in a gray suit, weeping not from failure, but from the belief that he had already reached his peak. But humiliation has 2 paths. It breaks you or it hardens you. And for Simon Cowell, that mailroom became his battlefield. He started watching, listening, studying how power moved through rooms, who people obeyed, who they feared, who they pretended to like. He realized fame wasn't built on talent, it was built on perception. And that was the moment he stopped wanting to be loved and started wanting to be noticed. By the early 1980s, Simon took his first big leap. He started his own label, Fanfare Records. For a brief, glittering moment, it worked. Hit singles, parties, money, champagne. Simon, the once invisible mailroom clerk, was now shaking hands with pop stars. But fame is cruel. The trends shifted, the hits dried up, and the empire he'd built crumbled to dust. At 30, he was bankrupt, broke, back in his parents' house, sleeping in the same childhood room that once echoed with loneliness, now filled with the sound of failure. The walls that had once seen his tears saw them again. He'd later say, "That time nearly broke me, but out of that failure came the Simon Cowell we know, the one who stopped chasing perfection and started chasing what sold." He realized critics didn't buy records, ordinary people did. So he gave them what they wanted. Pop bands that purists mocked, Five, Westlife, Robson and Jerome. Every record mocked by insiders, but adored by the masses. For every sneer, there was a #1 hit. He'd learned the truth. In show business, connection beats talent every time. And then, in 2001, came the moment that would change television forever. Executives thought he was too blunt, too cold, too cruel for television. But Simon wasn't trying to be nice. He was trying to be real. He said what others whispered, and people loved him for it. Pop Idol exploded. American Idol followed. And suddenly, Simon Cowell wasn't the man behind the curtain. He was the show. His eyebrow raise could make headlines. His silences carried more drama than any song. At his peak, 600 million people across 100 countries watched shows stamped with his name. He was television's god and its villain. But power isolates. The more he ruled the airwaves, the emptier his private life became. He once admitted, even surrounded by lights and applause, I often felt completely alone. The boy who once wanted attention had found it and realized attention is not affection. Then came the scandal. The tabloids detonated. Simon Cowell, the ultimate judge, was being judged himself for having a child with his best friend's wife, Lauren Silverman. It wasn't gossip. It was an earthquake. Headlines screamed betrayal. Friends disappeared overnight. He said later, "It's not something I'm proud of." For the first time, he couldn't control the narrative. And yet, from that chaos came something pure. When his son Eric was born, everything changed. For the man who had built an empire on commanding others, holding that baby was the first time he surrendered. He swapped contracts for bedtime stories, ratings for laughter. He said, "My world stopped being about money. It became about him." But life wasn't done testing him. 2015, his mother, Julie, passed away. She had lived to 89. To the world, it seemed a peaceful goodbye. To Simon, it was devastation. He stepped away from everything, saying softly, "Losing my mom was the hardest thing I've ever gone through." And it hurt even deeper knowing his father, who died in 99, never got to see his success. He had finally earned the pride he'd chased all his life, but the people he wanted it from were gone. Then came the crash. August 2020. Simon, now 60, tested a powerful electric bike in the courtyard of his Malibu home. One wrong move, and he was on the ground, his back shattered. 6 hours of surgery, a steel rod in his spine. Doctors told him one wrong step could end his mobility forever. He said later, "I came within a minute of not making it." The pain was unbearable, but worse was the fear, the thought of leaving his son behind. He forced himself to fight, to walk again. Each shaky step cheered on by Eric's small voice. Then, 2 years later, it happened again. Another e-bike crash. Broken arm, bruised face. The same headlines mocking him. The world laughed, but Simon didn't. He'd realized the truth. Control is an illusion. And if that wasn't enough, fate dealt one more cruel twist. His face, the one the world knew, began to change. Years of fillers, Botox, procedures meant to hold back time, finally caught up. By 2021, fans didn't recognize him. He looked like a wax version of himself. He said it plainly. "I went too far. I didn't even recognize the man in the mirror." The judge had become the judged. He stopped everything. No more injections. No more masks. He said, "Let it age. Let it show." And for the first time in his life, Simon Cowell looked human again. Not invincible. Not untouchable. Just real. Then, 2024 brought a heartbreak nothing could prepare him for. Liam Payne, the boy Simon discovered at 16. The boy he placed in One Direction, a group that conquered the world, was gone. A tragic fall in Buenos Aires. 31 years old. Simon said quietly, "It feels like losing a son." He watched the world mourn, but his grief was private. He spent nights re-watching old audition tapes. Liam, laughing, singing, full of promise. He'd built empires. He'd made millionaires. But in that moment, none of it mattered. He told friends, "It's cruel, too young, too soon." That loss broke something in him. and also healed something. It reminded him that fame is fleeting, but love is what stays when everything else burns away. And today, in 2025, Simon Cowell stands not as a ruthless mogul, but as a survivor. At 65, he still judges on Got Talent, but the tone is different now. The sarcasm has softened into sincerity, the glare replaced by a quiet smile. Each morning starts with therapy for his back, with careful steps, with gratitude. He eats cleaner, moves slower, speaks softer. The man who once chased billions now says, "I don't want Eric to inherit money. I want him to inherit values." His mansions, his cars, his jets, they gather dust. His fortune, now worth over $600 million, is being written into foundations for children who start with nothing, just as he once did. And when he looks in the mirror now, he doesn't see a mogul. He sees a father, a survivor, a man at peace with his scars. Because in the end, Simon Cowell's story was never about fame. It was about a boy who wanted to be seen, and a man who finally learned that being seen means showing your scars. So the next time you hear his name, remember this: behind every verdict he ever gave was a man still learning to forgive himself.